Welcome tonight. We open a file that was never meant to be found. Beneath the freezing waters of the Baltic Sea, a discovery shook everything we thought we knew about what sleeps below. They said it was a rock. They said it was nothing. But some truths refuse to stay buried. Get ready to hear the story of the Baltic Sea anomaly. In 1979, a U.S. military satellite detected something impossible. 2 flashes of light over the South Atlantic. No radiation, no debris, no explanation. The data vanished. The reports were classified, but the signal never stopped. They called it the Vela Incident. What they didn't tell you is that the signal answered back September 22nd, 1979, 03 UTC. A dark sky stretched over the South Atlantic, an empty expanse of water between Africa and Antarctica. The night was still, silent, indifferent. Then, in less than a heartbeat, the sky exploded. 2 brilliant flashes lit up the horizon, followed by a pulse so bright it temporarily blinded a satellite 100,000 miles away. The machine's name was Vela 6911, part of a secret U.S. network designed to detect nuclear tests. Its sensors screamed, sending data to ground stations in real time. The pattern was unmistakable. A double flash. The telltale signature of a nuclear detonation, or so it should have been. Within minutes, alarms blared across NORAD. In Washington, a secure phone rang inside the Pentagon's subterranean command room. The man who picked it up was Colonel William Bridges, chief of satellite operations. He'd seen everything: Soviet missile tests, hydrogen bomb experiments, radar ghosts. But this was different. The satellite feed showed something no one could explain. Instead of a clean detonation curve, the light spike folded in on itself. A mirrored pulse, almost like a reflection, as if the explosion had echoed. "That's not nuclear," Bridges muttered. "That's something else." The data team replayed the footage in slow motion. Frame by frame, the double flash repeated. 2 perfect bursts, separated by exactly 22.4 seconds. Each pulse identical in strength, wavelength, and decay rate. Something physically impossible for human-made weapons. And behind it, faint but persistent, a secondary signal flickered on the low-frequency band. A hum. Rhythmic, intelligent, almost alive. By dawn, the White House knew. President Jimmy Carter was briefed personally. The official report: possible clandestine nuclear test. Location: South Atlantic. Unofficially, the National Security Council was in chaos. There was no radiation, no seismic disturbance, no atmospheric residue. Whatever the Vela satellite had detected, it wasn't a bomb. 3 days later, the Defense Intelligence Agency, DIA, sealed the data under Operation Noise. Access was restricted to less than 10 people. Every external mention was reclassified. But one scientist, Dr. Robert Monroe, who had worked on the Vela sensors since 1965, refused to stay quiet. He wrote a memo to his superior, warning that the light curve didn't resemble any explosion pattern known to physics. It looked, he said, like a transmission, a structured burst meant to be detected. His report was dismissed. Then his office was cleared. By the next morning, his clearance was revoked. Meanwhile, in Cape Town, South Africa, fishermen reported something strange that same night. A sudden glow over the sea. White, cold, not like lightning. Then the water beneath their boats began to hum. One man described it as a vibration in the bones, not the ears. Another said he saw a dark circle beneath the waves, wide as a stadium, slowly turning. When he looked again, it was gone. But his radio kept hissing with static long after the light vanished. And deep within that static, if you listened closely enough, you could hear a pulse. 3 beats. Pause. 3 more. The same rhythm detected by Apollo 11. Back in Washington, the CIA launched a covert inquiry. They called it Project 22. Satellite photos from the region showed faint circular ripples on the ocean surface, concentric waves radiating outward from a central point. But there was no impact crater, no debris, just smooth black water. Dr. Monroe's last note, recovered years later, read, "This is not an explosion. It's a signal using light." He died in a car accident 2 weeks later. Brakes failed. Case closed. In early October, a classified memo circulated inside the Pentagon. Stamped in red, eyes only, level 6. It read, "Secondary signal identified within Vela data. Not random. Suggestive of intelligent origin. Frequency matches DSN-11 421 Apollo transmission. Cross-reference ongoing." One line was underlined twice. They may be using the satellites to talk back. When NASA analysts quietly reviewed the data, they found something buried deep within the waveform. A faint modulation that resembled Morse code. But it wasn't English. It wasn't any known language. It was a repeating pattern of numbers. 450914302. Coordinates. They pointed to the South Pacific. The same empty stretch of ocean from the Apollo 11 response signal 30 years later. The same circle beneath the sea. The same hum. That's when the realization hit. The Vela satellite didn't just witness a detonation, it witnessed a reply. Something had waited in silence for 10 years, and when humanity finally reached the moon, it decided to answer. But its message wasn't sent from space. It came from home. From the dark beneath our oceans. The official statement was brief. The Vela double flash was likely caused by a micrometeorite impact on the satellite's sensors. Case closed. At least, that's what the world was told. Behind locked doors at the Pentagon, Project 22 continued. A team of physicists, analysts, and linguists was assembled under total secrecy. They worked out of a secure underground facility in Virginia, known internally as Site Echo. The team's first task was to decode the secondary signal buried inside the light burst. The pattern didn't match any known natural phenomenon. It wasn't radiation noise, solar interference, or equipment malfunction. It was organized, repeating, intelligent. Every 22.4 seconds, a pulse. 3 short bursts. Pause. 3 more. Exactly like the Apollo 11 anomaly, and buried under those pulses. Faint modulations that no one could explain. Mathematical sequences, prime numbers, geometric symmetry. As if someone, or something, was using light to speak. By January 1980, one man had become obsessed with the pattern. Dr. Alan Krauss, a mathematician, formerly with the NSA's cryptanalysis division. He was convinced it wasn't random, that it wasn't even a message, but a handshake. "It's not broadcasting. It's waiting for a response," he told his team. "Like sonar. Like it's listening." His superiors dismissed him as paranoid, but the pattern kept repeating. Every 11 days, precisely timed, as if the signal was orbiting Earth. Then one night, the sensors picked up something new, a reflection. The pulse came back, inverted, delayed by 0.42 seconds, as if bouncing off something directly above the South Atlantic. But there was nothing there. No satellite, no aircraft, no debris. Just open sky. Krauss ran the data again and froze. "It's not bouncing," he whispered. "It's answering." When the data was transmitted to Washington, the file vanished mid-transfer. Servers glitched, power flickered, backup tapes erased. Krauss demanded to see the security logs. They were blank, completely blank. A week later, his access badge was deactivated. When colleagues went to his apartment, the door was open. Inside, lights on, coffee still warm, papers scattered everywhere. Krauss was gone. In the corner of his desk, they found a handwritten note. "It's under us." It never left. Meanwhile, the Navy detected an anomaly near Bouvet Island, a remote volcanic rock in the South Atlantic, less than 1,000 miles from the original Vela coordinates. Submarines passing the area reported electronic interference. Compasses spun. Sonar readings failed. Divers from the USS Thornton described a low hum through the hull. The sound grew stronger the deeper they went. At 400 feet, their instruments blacked out. Then, silence for 22.4 seconds. When systems came back online, the hum was gone. But a faint echo registered on sonar, a perfectly circular reflection, as if something metallic had moved just below them. Back at Site Echo, the analysts discovered something terrifying. The Vela satellites had been designed to detect nuclear events, but never to transmit. And yet, after the double flash, Vela 6911 began broadcasting, not to Earth, outward. The pulse frequency matched the transmission band of the Deep Space Network. In other words, the satellite was replying to something. No one could explain how. Its onboard transmitter had been disabled since 1977. It shouldn't have been capable of sending anything. Still, the signal kept repeating. On February 8, 1980, President Carter received a second classified briefing. The report, later declassified in fragments, included one chilling line. The source appears to be subterranean, possibly oceanic. Carter reportedly asked one question: "Do we know what it wants?" No one answered. The investigation continued quietly for months, but as the pattern grew stronger, communications began failing across the network. Military satellites lost sync. Submarine systems flickered. And then, one night, the hum stopped entirely. For 2 days, silence. Then, on the third night, at 03 UTC, the same double flash appeared again. Only this time, it wasn't light, it was sound. Every hydrophone in the South Atlantic recorded it simultaneously. 2 low-frequency bursts, followed by something unmistakable: a human voice. Faint, warped, distorted by water and distance. But audible. You should not have answered. The next morning, Site Echo was sealed. Every employee reassigned, every document shredded. All transmissions from Vela 6911 were deleted from the Defense Communications Network. The incident was erased from public record, but it didn't disappear, because late that same night, a weather satellite passing over the South Atlantic picked up a final data packet. A weak radio signal lasting less than a second. Its metadata read: origin, surface. Inside the packet, 6 pulses, and then a heartbeat. March 1980. The U.S. Navy's deep-sea research vessel, Trieste II, was dispatched to the South Atlantic, its mission classified under the name Operation Deep Winter. Officially, it was searching for meteorite debris. Unofficially, it was looking for something far older. The coordinates were precise: 4509, S 103.902, W. The same spot marked in the Vela signal, an area of ocean so remote it was called the Quiet Zone. The crew descended slowly, sonar sweeping the abyss. At 600 meters, nothing but darkness. At 900, faint vibrations. At 1200, the hum began. Low, deep, rhythmic, like something breathing beneath the seafloor. Commander Elias Grant kept a log, portions of which survived after his death. He wrote, "The sound doesn't come through the equipment. You feel it in your ribs, like your heart is sinking with it." At 1,600 meters, their instruments went haywire. Depth gauges froze, compasses spun, temperature sensors recorded impossible spikes. A sudden 15-degree rise in water temperature in a single second. The pilot stopped the descent. Below them, the sonar displayed a void, an area where sound refused to echo back, as if the ocean floor wasn't there. "It's a hole," one diver said. "No," Grant replied. "It's something absorbing the signal." The Trieste's external floodlights pierced the blackness. Then they saw it. A curve. Metallic. Too perfect to be natural. It stretched out of the sea floor like the rim of a buried dome, covered in sediment and coral, but gleaming faintly under the light. Grant's notes continue. "We found a structure. Circular. Seamless. It's not rock. It's not steel either. It's like a mirror that's not reflecting." The hum grew louder and then stopped. For 22.4 seconds, absolute silence. Every monitor on the Trieste flickered. Then a faint image appeared on the sonar display. A pulse in the shape of a circle, spreading outward. The same pattern recorded by the Vela satellite. Only now they were inside it. The crew radioed the surface. No response. All communications were dead. Then a low-frequency tone began playing through the sub's intercom, unconnected to any external system. A voice followed, soft, measured, calm. "Return." The lights flickered again. Pressure alarms blared. The hull creaked, as if the ocean itself had clenched its fist around them. The pilot tried to ascend. Thrusters failed. The craft began rising, on its own. Grant's final log entry. "We're moving, not by control. The water feels thicker, heavy. There's light above, but it's not the surface." Then, nothing. The Trieste 2 never resurfaced. The Navy listed it as lost due to implosion. No wreckage was ever found. 2 months later, a Chilean fishing trawler 600 miles north of Bouvet Island reported finding strange debris floating in calm seas. Smooth, black fragments that repelled water. They were warm to the touch. One fisherman took a piece home. That night, his radio began picking up the hum. In 1981, an anonymous envelope arrived at the U.S. Naval Research Laboratory. Inside, a single reel of magnetic tape labeled Deep Winter 0380 Audio Rec. The recording lasted only 90 seconds. The first 30 were static. Then came the hum, and faintly, beneath it, the sound of water dripping and breathing. Slow, human. At 1:09, the hum rose into a high, trembling pitch. A voice whispered, barely audible, "It's not from the sky." Then the tape cut out. The reel was logged into the archive and sealed under Level 7 security. A month later, the storage room flooded. The water was ice cold, and the hum returned. Faint, steady, coming from nowhere. 40 years later, the ocean is still silent. No trace of Trieste 2. No debris, no signal. At least, not officially. But silence doesn't mean absence. Sometimes, silence is what remains when something chooses not to speak. December 2019. A European Space Agency satellite orbiting the South Atlantic suddenly rebooted itself. For 3 minutes, it stopped broadcasting telemetry and instead transmitted on an unused emergency frequency, 2.3 GHz. The same channel used by Vela 6911 in 1979. The same frequency as the Apollo 11 blackout. Ground stations received the signal before the feed shut down. What they heard wasn't data. It was the hum. And this time, it wasn't faint. It was powerful, layered, alive. Spectrogram analysis showed something no one expected. The waveform contained symmetry, fractals repeating into infinity, a structure within sound itself. Scientists at the Deep Space Network enhanced the audio and isolated the modulation. It wasn't random. It carried information, binary clusters arranged in intervals of 2.4 seconds. When translated into an image spectrum, the result sent chills through everyone in the room. A circular structure, submerged, glowing faintly in cold blue light, and above it, the shadow of a human shape. One engineer, Daniel Ruiz, leaked the image anonymously online. It spread across conspiracy forums in hours before being erased by automated takedown bots. Ruiz disappeared the next day, but copies survived. When analyzed by independent researchers, the coordinates embedded in the image metadata pointed to the same location, 4509S, 143.2 W, the South Atlantic, the Quiet Zone. Weeks later, seismic monitors near that area recorded a deep frequency vibration lasting exactly 2 minutes and 37 seconds, the exact duration of the Apollo 11 radio blackout. The vibration pulsed in the same 22.4-second rhythm. It wasn't natural. It wasn't tectonic. It was a response, as if something beneath the ocean floor had woken up and was calling back. In early 2020, the U.S. Navy deployed an unmanned deep-sea drone near Bouvet Island. It transmitted one burst of data before going dark. Its last message contained a single word in its system log: contact. The feed ended, but the hum didn't. For days, radios across the southern hemisphere picked up faint interference, a rhythmic beat under the static. Ships lost navigation. Airliners reported flickering radar, and somewhere inside that static, a voice emerged, barely audible, drowned in distortion. "We waited. You came back." Then, silence. Today, the Vela 6911 satellite is long dead, but every year, on September 22nd, the anniversary of the double flash, the same frequency reactivates across the network. Engineers call it the ghost signal. It lasts exactly 2 minutes and 37 seconds, always the same pattern, always the same hum. And if you map its waveform across time, you get something no scientist wants to say out loud: a pulse, a beat, a heartbeat, non-human, not mechanical. Something watching, waiting. They say it started in the sky. They were wrong. It started in the deep. It started before us. And maybe, when we first looked at the stars for answers, something under the ocean looked back and realized its echo had finally been heard. They called it an anomaly, a malfunction, a coincidence. But what if it wasn't? What if the signal was never coming from out there, but from here, waiting beneath the waves, waiting for someone to answer again?